Hey everybody, so today we are making a apple fennel stuffing for a pork that I'm gonna stuff. I have a previous video on my channel to show you how to take the fat off and butterfly open a pork. So we need apples for this recipe. So I just wanted to show you how I peel an apple. I know it sounds silly, but it makes it a lot easier when you can do it quickly, especially when you have a lot of apples that you need to peel. So what I usually do is take the stem off, and then I just take this kind of peeler. And it's funny, I teach cooking classes and I try to teach my students this, and some of them, the younger kids, don't really know how to hold the peeler. It's an awkward thing to learn. So you basically take your finger, put it here, and then put pressure, and I peel the top and I peel the bottom. And I'm usually peeling into a bag or something for trash so that it's easy for cleanup. And then I just take the apple and I just peel down the sides. Once you do the top and the bottom, it makes it a lot easier to peel. So I went ahead and I did all of the apples, but I saved this one to show you guys. So we're gonna go ahead and dice the apple up now. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. So of course, underneath my cutting board, I have a wet towel just to make sure that the cutting board is not moving around everywhere. So now there's several different ways to take the core out of an apple. I'm gonna show you this way. Forgive my head being cut off. I'm just trying to show you how to do it. There we go. So now you can just look at the apple instead. So you can take it, again, holding your knife like this, using a chef's knife. You're just going to cut around the core. These apples were not looking too great, which is fine because it's for a stuffing. So I'm just going to take out the parts that were kind of rotten in the center. And what you want to do then is take your apple. You don't want really small pieces because apples cook down really quick. So you're just going to take it and then just dice them into like a medium-sized, large diced piece. Nothing too crazy. And we're just going to take all the apples and chop all of them up. Takes some time, but the stuffing is absolutely delicious. We're doing an apple, fennel, bacon stuffing for this pork, and then we're going to roast the pork, and then we're going to put it, drizzle balsamic glaze on it, which will be absolutely delicious. Now I'm making enough of this pork to feed about 20 people, because 20 people ordered that this week for my weekly orders. I offer 6 options, and this pork was one of them. So another way that you could peel, that you could do an apple, is by cutting it this way, like this, and then taking this and cutting this in half, like that, and then kind of using your knife on a diagonal, like this, and then taking the core out that way. So you can also do it that way. I actually prefer to do it that way versus the other way. But if you're looking to do less cuts, you could do it the other way. So now I'm going to take this apple, since I did it this way, cut this into 3 long ways, and now just cut it up like that. I'm using Granny Smith apples. They cook the best, I believe, and it's a nice balance of tartness with sweetness with the balsamic glaze. So the next thing we're going to learn how to do is, now that I have that done, is we're going to learn how to chop an onion, which I'm going to go ahead, cut all these apples up, and I'll be back to teach you how to chop the onion. Hey everybody, so now we are at the onion stage, so I'm going to show you how to do this, how to small dice an onion basically. So in culinary school I learned a little bit differently how to slice an onion, or how to dice an onion, but then I discovered if you do these things, it's almost the same exact result and it's much less effort. So I'm going to take the onion, and you're going to cut this part of the onion off, okay? So this completely gets cut off here, okay? Always take your trash, put it in the trash, keep your cutting board clean. Now this side here is the hairy side, and we're gonna shave this side off here, okay? We're gonna shave it. We're not going to cut it all off, because this is what's holding our onion together, okay? So you're just gonna give that a little shave, like that. And then you're gonna cut this in half, making that like a half moon, okay? Oh, actually, didn't cut that very evenly, but that's okay. So now we're gonna take a layer of this onion off, and you're gonna wanna make sure, it looks like you just need to take this off, but you don't. You should actually take off this entire first layer of the onion. And the reason is if you can bend it inside out like this, you shouldn't be eating it. You can use that for a stock or something like that to kind of just get the flavor and the essence, but you shouldn't be cutting that up. First of all, it's kind of dangerous and your knife slides all around usually. So now what you want to do is, since this part of the onion is still there, that's what's keeping it intact. So now you're going to take your onion and just basically keeping this part intact back here, you're going to just slice, leaving this part in, just go around the onion like this, just making slices in it. But again, leaving this part back here intact. Now, if you're not experienced with a knife, I suggest using a paring knife. It just makes it a little bit easier. It's a smaller knife. And the bigger the slice is here, the bigger the onion will be. So I want to kind of small dice. Now I'm going to take my onion here, and it's going to stay all together, and I'm just going to chop it into small diced pieces. Now, when it gets to this point, and I'm using the back of the knife to clear the cutting board, otherwise I'm dulling my knife. When it gets to the point where you feel like you're going to chop your fingers off, stop, put the onion down just like that, and then continue to chop it. A lot of people think that they can't cook. It's just more like they don't have knife skills and they don't know what knife to use for the right job or for the job that they're doing. So learn some knife skills, get the correct knives. They don't have to be expensive, but they do have to be sharp. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape this into my pot here, my pan, because I'm gonna do the onion and the fennel together before we add the apples. So now we're gonna go ahead and get to the fennel. Now, I would have loved if this had the frond attached to it. So it's usually about this long and there's white all coming and there's frond all over it. I like that much more, I prefer that. But this is how it came, so we're just gonna use it. Now I'm gonna chop this part off here because this is way too fibrous to eat. You can't digest it. Again, you could use it for a stock and simmer that and then strain it after. It's a really good flavor. Now, this is called fennel, which is also known as anise. And my grandmother, who is from Italy, called it fennel. So a lot of people use this to cleanse their palate between courses. This tastes totally different roasted than it does raw. Raw, it's like a licorice taste, like a black licorice, and when you roast it, it's absolutely sweet and delicious. I don't really love it raw, my family does. I don't know, I just don't like it. So anyway, so you're gonna take this and you're gonna cut it in half, just like that, okay? And then you're gonna cut it in half again because we need to take that core out. Just like that, and now we're gonna take the core out. And all the pieces just like that. Cut this in half again, take the core out, just like that. Okay. So now, I'm gonna take this and just cut it probably into about 4 pieces, and then I'm just gonna take that and cut that smaller. Now this takes a little bit to cook down, so you don't wanna cut it too thick. Okay, so here, so I'm in my kitchen that I do all my orders in, so if you hear some background noise, Miss Leah's here with me helping me prep today. So we got the onions and the fennel in here cooking. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper to this. Easy on the salt because we're gonna do bacon, which normally I actually cook bacon and then use the bacon fat. But I have bacon cooking in the oven. I just kind of have it diced up in there and it's cooking in there. And I'll use some of the bacon fat to put drizzle with the panko when we get to that stage. So I'm just gonna go ahead and saute this till it's translucent. A little bit of a bite left to it. I don't like any of my vegetables soggy, like they're not soggy, that's the wrong word. I don't like them mushy. So I'm gonna saute this. The next step will be to add the apples to this, and I will show you when I do that. Hey everybody, so our stuffing is ready to go to be stuffed into the pork. So we have this roulade, this butterfly pork open here. Sorry, I'm trying to film while also showing you guys how to do this. So in here, we've got our fennel, our onions, our bacon, a little bit of salt and pepper. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a little bit of panko breadcrumbs, not much, just enough to kind of hold it together, to kind of hold the stuffing together a little bit. And honestly, if you're dealing with gluten-free stuff, don't even worry about adding this stuff at all. It just kind of binds it together a little bit, but it's not a necessary step. Forget this spoon because I like mixing with my hands. So I've let this cool down because it's obviously really hot and hard to work with when it's piping hot. So just gonna mix this all together. All right, I'm gonna put an even layer on our porks here. I'm gonna get to that one that you see in a second. Line here. Just gonna lay this out flat. Now, little word of the wise here. If you have any stuffing left over, I know I'm not gonna have any left over, but if you were to have any left over, you don't wanna let your hand touch the pork and then back in the stuffing, okay? Because then you've contaminated the stuffing with raw pork. So if you made a lot, put some aside in a bowl, and then if you need to add more, you can add more. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll these up and we're gonna bake them in a pan. I'm gonna add a little water to the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna season the outside with some salt, pepper, and onion powder. And we're gonna bake these. And we're gonna cook them to 145 degrees. And I will try to remember to take a video of where to check the pork because it's a roulade, so you wanna make sure that you actually get the pork. You're not just getting the stuffing part of the pork. So I'm gonna take this here, and all I'm gonna do, I used to butcher tie these, but I don't anymore. You're just gonna roll this up, just like this. Some of the stuffing's gonna fall out, that's okay. Stick it in the tin. Of course, I'm gonna wash this table down with disinfectant, but I also have some saran wrap on here, so I'm not completely touching the counter with pork. Okay, it's a nice big one. Probably get done a little bit quicker. So we'll check the temperature. One more over here. Roll this up. Smells amazing. Such a good fall treat. Stick this right in here. And like I said, I'm gonna add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper to the top of the pork. And what this looks like, so we're gonna do a little onion powder. Some salt and pepper. Pepper is like, with all the fans blowing, I end up getting pepper in my eye way more than I want to. Anyway, so we're gonna stick a little bit of water in the bottom of this, just about that much, not that much at all. Stick this in the oven and I will show you guys what it looks like when it's done and how to check the temperature on it. Hey everyone, so the pork I think is ready to go, so I'm just checking the temperature. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick it in where the actual pork is and not just where the filling is. So you can see I'm kind of putting it along the lines of Sorry guys, I need a better tripod apparently. Which it's only coming up to about 133, so we definitely need longer. We want it to be at 140 and then it'll carry over cook to 145. This one is ready. I already took one of the smaller ones out, so it just depends on your oven. That's why it's really important to check all of the porks. Like when you're grilling things or sauteing things, it's really, really important to check every single piece of meat, because it all cooks differently if the oven's not, you know, even my oven at home that's like a brand new oven cooks differently. So it's really important to check that. Hey everybody, so the pork is all done. I've actually already portioned out some pieces already, but I'm gonna go ahead and portion out more. So here's portion number one, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this next one here. Came out perfect. I try not to give my customers the end pieces because they can be a little dried out, but that roulade turned out perfect. So all stuck together really well. And this goes with roasted potatoes, which is super yummy, and we're gonna put some balsamic glaze on this, and that's about it.